Good morning, everyone. Today I'm with Allyson. Allyson is one of our Cervical Dystonia program participants. She joined us last year and she completed the program over the course of 8 weeks. Allyson was amongst very few fortunate individuals who was able to join the program early in her care journey and is now able to manage all her symptoms independently without any care from any healthcare professional and able to regain back her control. A quick introduction about Allyson. Allyson is a advocate for proactive care. She's been uh, working, supporting individuals and seeking the care, helping herself, and she's just phenomenal in all the work she's been doing for the community. It's a pleasure to work with her, and so happy to have this chat with her today.
Thank you.
Welcome, Allison.
It's great to be here.
Thank you. So I'll just like to get started with just knowing about your symptoms. Like initially, when you started experiencing the neck pain, the neck concerns, how did you go about it in seeking the care, understanding the symptoms?
Sure. So my symptoms were that my head would jerk,
Mm-hmm.
and it was worse when I was at my computer. It was worse when I was using my phone. If I was on a Zoom call, I'd have a hard time staying engaged because I was so focused on trying to keep my head still. And I enjoy yoga and meditation, but meditation had become really hard for me because I couldn't relax because I was so focused on the fact that my head was twitching.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started down the path of trying to figure out, like, if I work with people who have dementia and who have Parkinson's. And so I thought, oh my gosh, am I in the early stages of Parkinson's disease? And so, or is it possibly um, an essential tremor, because my mom had that, but she had it in her hands, not her neck.
Mm-hmm.
And so so that is what led me to originally talk to a neurologist, is to figure out, or to a Parkinson's specialist. And they said that no, it didn't seem like I had Parkinson's. And she was the one who said, perhaps you have cervical dystonia. Maybe you should chat with a neurologist. So that led me to Dr. Kamani. So what I wanted to figure out is, do I have something that is manageable in some way? Are there like medications I could take that would maybe like relax my muscles and maybe not make me twitch so much? So it was looking for relief that led me to Dr. Kamani. And as far as how long it had been going on for years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it was getting worse. And so I saw a path that I would eventually be significantly worse. And so I wanted to find out if there was a way to maybe alleviate my symptoms before rather than having them get worse, right? To try and at least maybe stay where I was, or perhaps find improvement.
I see. And then after seeing Dr. Kamani, you mentioned specifically, right? You want to explore all the options and see, along with medication, what all can you do. So how was that process for you? Mm.
Sure. So I am always interested in looking for non-medical interventions if possible, non-drug interventions if possible. And so Dr. Kamani mentioned a couple of things. He talked about the fact that I could possibly get Botox injections, and that maybe the Botox injections would cause things to loosen up a bit.
Mhm.
Um, I had been working with a structural integration person who was kind of helping with my whole body, trying to figure out how things go. I was getting massages on my neck. So I was trying like non-drug interventions. But what Dr. Kamani suggested is that maybe in working with you, that we could actually sort of retrain me, that maybe it wasn't so much that there was something that was broken, but maybe it was sort of like a communication thing, that maybe my brain and my brain could figure out how to not be
Mhm.
that way, which seemed frankly kind of far-fetched to me. But I was absolutely willing to go down that path
Mhm.
before doing something like Botox or looking for other, like one of the other things I could have done is an MRI, but I thought, well, you know what, let me try this sort of non-invasive thing first and see if that helps me.
Awesome. And so how did you prepare yourself, right? There were so many questions and like you had a lot to understand. So how was the start of it?
I think the start of it was just about I was really curious
Uh-huh.
about about what the process would be. And so I think that it was really about having being committed
Mm-hmm.
to the possibility.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you and I started working together, um, honestly, I was a little skeptical. I thought, how I don't see how this is actually well, this is actually going to work, as I'm walking backwards and looking side to side and telling you like, animal names or whatever. I was like, okay, I don't really see where we're going with this.
Uh-huh.
But I committed to the fact that it might work and that if I didn't commit to it, there's no way it was going to work. So
Right.
I knew that I had to, for the period of time that I was working with you, which wasn't a huge commitment, right? We talked about doing initially 4 or 6 weeks or something. And I
Mm-hmm.
thought, okay, for 4 or 6 weeks, I'm willing to completely buy in
Mm-hmm.
and see if by me doing everything that you're asking me to do, whether or not it makes a difference.
Yeah. No, that was really helpful for me to prepare you and get you on this route, journey. And then, as you were in the process, and every week
Yeah.
you were doing something new, something different. So, how was the whole experience of like initially starting slow, then getting more on the higher level, and then tapering it down?
It was really good. I thought that I felt like the flow
Mhm.
was completely manageable for me.
Okay.
And so the things that you asked me to do, there was nothing that ever caused me to be uncomfortable. I remained curious about it.
Mhm.
One of the things that I really enjoyed is that at the beginning of each session, you and I would talk a bit
Mhm.
about how it was going. We started talking about things like how I was using my eyes, right? Like because I mentioned that when I'm using like one of the things we discovered, which I would never have discovered if you and I hadn't talked about it, is the fact that when I'm on my phone, I don't read using my eyes, I read using my head. And similarly, when I'm at my computer screen, rather than having my eyes track back and forth, I just move my head back and forth. And I noticed that even when reading a book, I tended to do that. And it's like, wow, where did that come from? But I never would have done that. I would never would have discovered that if it hadn't been for the conversations that you and I had as
Right.
we were exploring things together. So I thought that that was a really, really fascinating process.
No, I agree. And we also talked about like how can you change your glasses, like have more of the wider lens. So,
Right.
did you,
Yeah.
yeah, did you change it or it's the same, like your
You know,
glass?
yeah, I didn't wind up changing it because I started really looking at when I look from side to side, um, it turns out that I can actually see everything. I just don't usually do it. So I don't know. And when did I start doing that? I don't know. Maybe as a kid, did I always read like this? I have no memory of that. I have no idea, but I'm glad that we
Right.
figured that.
No, that's amazing. And then I remember like after we completed the program, like towards the end of 6 weeks, you were able to like continue by yourself, continue with the regular home routine, and now you're back to like doing everything possible more than anyone could take on their list, physical activity. So how did you kept going with after we were able to like wind up the program and keep up with your activities?
Sure. So after we completed the program, well, I kept bits of what we had been doing in my other things. So like when doing yoga and I'm lying on my back, I would be really conscious about when I move my head from side to side. I didn't used to be able to move my head smoothly from side to side. It would hitch
Mhm.
as I would move my head. And so I just really focus on that. I think that one of the things that you made me believe was not only um was it fixable, but that it wasn't broken in the first place, right? Like there wasn't actually a problem with my muscles, and there wasn't actually a problem with the way my head is resting. I mean, I had so many theories about what the physical problem was, and it turns out it wasn't a physical problem, really. It was a communication problem with my brain. And so once you helped me to understand that, it helped me really relax around it. So anyway, but to answer your question about how I kept up with it, so I incorporated some of the exercises into my day-to-day life. I also, if I started feeling myself getting tensed up, I would remind myself that there's not really anything wrong. Like there's nothing wrong. It's communication. And that I have the ability to get past this because yesterday I didn't twitch. So that means that I don't need to twitch today. Right. So I kept going back to those conversations about the fact that there's not really anything wrong. And then I know I've shared with you, but the other thing that I did that I liked a lot is that I started also getting craniosacral treatments, and those also really supplemented. And so I still do that about once a month. And that just helps me kind of stay in that space of feeling aligned and feeling connected.
Amazing. So this is so inspiring that you started initially just with getting answers like what's happening with your neck, then building your team, working with the neurologist, myself, and the craniosacral therapy, and then understanding how different teammates like help you, and then just at the same time, being motivated, being dedicated to the plan. So that really helped you get through this. So this is super amazing and inspiring.
Yeah, definitely. I did my exercise. I did what you asked me to do, and it all came together. So, yeah, and you were very clear about what to do, and I loved your curiosity too. You'd come up with these things for me to do that, frankly, just seemed ridiculous, but right, they were so silly,
Really.
but they worked.
Right.
So, yeah.
We're able to get some playfulness out and we're trying our best. How do we make it work?
Yes, yes.
Right. And one last question. What's your message to anyone who's like looking to find the answers, looking to build a team and, help solve this dystonia problem for themselves?
I would say be open-minded
Mhm.
and be confident in the fact that this is that you don't have to live that way. So I really, I mean, I'd gotten to a point where I thought, okay, this is it. This is who I'm going to be for the rest of my life. Is I'm just every time that I'm in a Zoom call, I'm always going to be like focused on trying to keep my head straight. I'm going to never be able to meditate really well because I'm just going to be so hyper focused on the fact that my head is going back and forth. Um, and so I had stopped believing that it could be better. And so I think that is that my message to people would be to have some confidence that if you put the work in, that you actually can see results.
Mhm.
And knowing that now, and as I mentioned to you also previously, I do find that if I'm super tired, that I can start being symptomatic again. But now I'm able to say to myself, but I I know that I know how to not be that way, right? I just need to get back to it. And I also am confident that I could call you and say, hey, can we just do a couple of sessions again to kind of help me sort of reset myself?
Right. No,
Yeah, so I believe in the fact that my brain and my body, and my brain is part of my body, but I believe that this creature here knows how to not be that way. And sometimes I forget that I know how to not be that way. So, yeah,
there- no,
it
this
sounds crazy, but
Yeah, like it's the matter of like how do you create a plan, how do you create a system for you to continue with the training process, not like the big one which we used to do, but some piece of it and keep yourself active. You're so active with all your commitments. So that
I do keep active. Exercise is a big part of my life, but I don't when we started on this, I was like, oh my God, so am I committing like that for the rest of my life? Every day I'm gonna have to take a half an hour and like walk backwards and walk forwards and like that.
Mhm.
And so that was intimidating to me, but I don't do that anymore. I mean, for the once you and I finished our work together for a
Right.
couple of weeks, I kept doing the exercises, and then I was like, you know what, I don't think I need these anymore. And so I stopped doing the exercises. As I think I said, I incorporate little bits of it into things that I do. Even when I'm going for a walk, I will just, while out walking, I'll take a few minutes. And since I'm walking anyway, I'll just, as I'm walking, kind of move my head from side to side, and I'll notice what's around me. I'll try to get out of my body and just sort of really be present where I am. And so all of that, those are skills that I learned through my work with you. But it's not something that like is a big part of my life. It's just sort of like become a part of the way that I exist in the world. So without effort. Yeah.
This is remarkable. I really hope like, people get to learn from you, like how you took a step in just getting the right answers, building the team, and just working through it. I know in the beginning it just feels intimidating, like what's happening? Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
And even as a clinician, we cannot just like we can explain the process, but we cannot just say like, this is how it's gonna turn. Every person's journey is different. So it's really
Yeah.
important to believe in yourself and be confident with what you're doing and how it will help you and stuff. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for sharing. It was really, really pleasure working with you and having this conversation with you. Thank you again.
Thank you for giving me this piece that I had not thought I would be able to achieve. So I'm grateful to you.
Bye, everyone.